hobby friends, and welcome back to Paint Bravely, a podcast where you can find a little bit of encouragement, discover new ways to make your hobby more fun, I said it, and most importantly, learn to paint bravely. All right, well, we got a pretty good episode today, something we've been waiting to talk about for a long time at this point. We're gonna talk about the hobby company that Brent and I started called Goblin Hobbies. This has been like a 2.5-ish year in the making kind of thing, and we're finally ready to fully get into it, talk about what we've been doing, why it's taken as long as it has, and kind of talk about the future of what that looks like. So, yeah, but I guess before we get into that, or we can jump straight into that, what you got? What you got, Brent? What do you want to start with?
Welcome to Goblin Hobbies. Now, the last couple of weeks has all been about Goblin Hobbies for Brent. I'm getting ready to travel to GAMA, the Game Manufacturer Association convention, to talk about Goblin Hobbies. And I've been working on a video where we intro what this business is, and I've been 3D printing goblins and all that good stuff. All right, tell them, Casey. Tell them what we're doing. Tell them what this is.
Okay, so here's the thing. We've talked about the models a little bit. We've got these nice little goblin models, and that's all well and good. That's fun. But what we're actually doing is we're creating, or we have created a product. They're called Stampin' Plates, and what this is, and you may have seen this in some of my videos in particular. There's a lot of freehand that goes on that look like decals, but in fact they are not decals. We're using a stainless steel plate that has etched symbols in it, designs, and you're using a silicone stamping pad to basically do this process called pad printing, which you've probably seen in like industrial, the types of things they print on like the sides of trash cans and big things like that. So this is that process, but very, very tiny, and we can do that on miniatures. So we can take a design that's on a metal plate and transfer it onto our models, just like you would a decal or a transfer.
Yep, this is an alternative to decals, an alternative to stencils, an alternative to getting your smallest brush and trying to freehand something for your own dang self. Yeah. This is stamps. We're bringing stamps to the hobby space. Let's go.
Yeah, it's weird. So a couple years ago, Brent and I had been talking about this idea of creating some kind of way, because we were talking about doing the Space Marine Army, of all things.
Yeah, we were talking about batch painting a Space Marine Army, and we were talking... Yeah. We always love that yellow. We had been doing more tests with the pink and white underneath the yellow spray to get that sweet orangey, yellowy look on power armor. And we were ready to do a battle company or something of...
like a big amount of them. Yeah, like a very large amount.
Yeah. We were getting ready to do a whole lot. We were talking Imperial Fists. We were joking about Lamenters. But, of course, with any of that, one of the hard things to do is getting the iconography right on the shoulder pads. Yeah. And I've done that a few times. So the Imperial Fist iconography, especially, it's a white circle that has black icons on it of a fist and a black circle, and you can do it with decals, but there's so much of a curve to the shoulder pad and just the way the decal lays, it is very difficult to get that white circle to lay flat and still look like a circle and look like it doesn't have wrinkles in it and look painted on. And if you're doing that for 100 friggin' models, it's just...
Yeah, that's a lot of work. And you have to have 100 decals, so you have to have all of them.
Right.
It's a lot of work. Don't mess them up.
It's a lot of work, and if you don't mess up any of them, you go through 100 of the decals. And if you mess up a reasonable amount of them, you go through about 200 decals. So
right. Yeah, it's a whole thing. So we were talking about that project, and we were trying to figure out ways around doing decals and transfers. Like, we've both done them. We don't, we're not necessarily like good at it, I would say. I can put one on, but it's not the best.
It depends what the icon is. So
Sure.
if it's relatively small compared to like the radius of curvature of whatever you're putting it on, it actually works pretty well.
Like on a flat surface, it looks great.
Yeah, on a flat surface, it looks great. You get your varnishing done right and kind of weather it into the surface. You can get it to look like it's painted on, to look pretty good. But the most common use of those dang curved Space Marine shoulder pads is a challenge. It's a challenge, and it works better for some factions than it does for others. I remember doing, I think I did 30 Blood Angel Space Marines for a Nova Open charity thing. And those Blood Angel symbols, I remember taking my X-Acto blade and cutting like relief cuts into those decals so that they would curve better around the pad. And that was annoying. I eventually got them to look good. I got the system down, but it was hard. And with the Blood Angels, it's a blood drop with like wings on it, and if you kind of make little relief cuts in between the feathers of the wings, you can get the decal to lie straight. But it's a talent, and it's labor intensive. And so you and I had been talking about stamps. We were like, all right, what if we
like actual stamps?
Yeah. we were talking about the idea of basically 3D printing, the inverse of what we wanted. 3D printing like a curved stamp.
Yeah.
And then we could, kind of ink up the stamp each time, and the actual surface of the stamp in our mind, that would be curved like the right radius for a Space Marine shoulder pad.
It'd be the exact thing. Like we could plastic dip like the ends of the stamper and be able to just get it right on there, have this 3D printed plastic dipped thing. That didn't get very far though.
No, but we'd been thinking about it, and then a couple of years ago, I was hanging out in a hobby hangout, and our buddy Elma mentioned that she had been doing her nails, doing the nail stamping. And I was like, wait, what is this nail stamping you speak of? Yeah,
it's the stamping thing that we've been talking about for months at this point.
Right. And it turns out, that the cosmetics industry has this whole little niche of stamping nails and putting designs on your fingernails or your toenails. Either way, works for both.
Yeah, you got a lot of nails.
Yeah. Any of the 10, depending. Or 20.
20?
Yeah,
20. Yeah.
And I got to thinking, a fingernail is pretty much the dimensions of a Space Marine shoulder pad. And it seemed like there was a lot of natural follow-on there. And so we looked into this process, and of course the broader technique is this pad printing process. It's you ink up an etched design on a steel plate, scrape away the excess, and then you come in with a silicone pad, pick up the design, transfer it to where you want it. And so we started learning about this process, and there was one Paint Bravely that was even worse than normal, because instead of we got on the phone together, you and I, we got on the phone to record a Paint Bravely, and we were doing our normal thing where you put your kid to bed, start recording at 9 p.m. your time, which is midnight my time. And you and I just got to talking about this pad printing technology and using stamps to put freehand designs on miniatures and all the different possibilities that we could do with that. It
got deep real fast.
Yeah, we were talking about heraldry on shields for knights. We were talking about like caution signs in Necromunda, or you put caution signs anywhere. Talking about the tavern signs on an inn. So if you want the prancing pony, you just put a dang little pony on your tavern sign for the inn. Like all this stuff, you're just having so many ideas. Caution stripes, checker patterns, and 3 hours just disappeared that night of just you and I getting super excited about all of the freehand designs that would be easier to do with stamps than with any other strategy.
Yeah.
And I think we eventually recorded an episode that night. I can't remember which one it was.
I don't even remember at this point.
It was about 2 years ago, but just if there was one of lower quality than normal 2 years ago, that may have been the special night.
It may have just been a normal day too.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And I feel like 2 weeks later, we had a similar call where we were supposed to be recording at Paint Bravely, and then we were just talking about names for our hobby company. And we had a Google Doc open where we were just writing every possible name for a hobby company. We got to 10 or 15 pages of this Google document.
It's like way too many, right? Just so much stuff on there. It's like you could name your hobby company whatever you want. I mean, there were some roads we almost went down too, like some real weird roads. Some that maybe we still should have, but no, we did eventually settle.
In my mind, I was really hard on Crab Time Hobbies. Crab Time Hobbies. Yeah. I kept coming back to it, and Casey kept saying no. So,
yeah, which I don't know. Like it could have flown.
Yeah. But we did eventually find that nobody had taken the website of GoblinHobbies.com.
Which is very strange.
So we took the website GoblinHobbies.com a couple of years ago. It was actually surprisingly cheap for such a pretty solid name.
Yeah. $7. It was $7.
Whew. Nailed it. We snagged it. We did a good one. What do you think Crab Time Hobbies would have cost? Pete Mopsicle's gonna scrape it up. Yeah.
Somebody else is gonna take it immediately.
Crabtimehobbies.uk, crabtimehobbies.nz, crabtime.ca.
It's all gone now. It's too late.
Anyway, we grabbed that website goblinhobbies.com, which is live right now. See, I don't know what you're doing right now, but if you're at a computer, you got your cell phone around, go to goblinhobbies.com. See what's going on.
Yeah, we got some preliminary stuff up there. Kind of some tutorial based stuff, showing off the process and exactly how it works in a lot more detail. As well as if you sign up for the notification for when we're actually going to be going live, which isn't that far away,
right.
Then you can get some free minis, our minis that we've been talking about and showing off a little bit. We have STLs.
You can get the STLs for the free STLs for
free STLs
for minis. Yep. So the mascots of Goblin Hobbies are two goblins. It's a brother and sister pair. We've got an annoying little brother and a more responsible big sister type. I always had it in my head the music video Alfie, Lily Allen and Alfie Allen, and I like that duo. But anyway, responsible big sister, annoying little brother, and the big sister is Elma, little brother is Nugget, and those are the mascots. And so far we have gotten them made into minis in a futuristic scene and in a fantasy scene. We've got a knight version of those two, and we've got kind of like Metroid armor version of those two. Mm-hmm. Kind of like reminiscent of
space armor.
Space armor.
What are you gonna?
Yeah.
It's all sorts of different spacey looking stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So we are not for sale yet, but we will be relatively soon. The first wave has been manufactured, and when we have it all neatly organized and ready to send out, that sales will go live. So in the meantime,
we're not doing any kind of crowdsourcing, anything like that. We honestly were excited enough about this and think that it's worthwhile enough that we're just like, no, we're just gonna get this made and then just put it up for sale.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We were able to scrape enough into our life savings to get the first wave manufactured, and get that ready to go up for sale. And so, it's been a journey putting everything together for the past couple of years. And one of the first things that we did is, my local game store, Crossroad Games, we've been working with them. They're going to do fulfillment for us, do the shipping. And so the initial wave of orders is going to be US only until we know that we're getting that all down smooth and we have the first round of feedback and everything. And then we will expand from there. But
yes. Yeah, and that's partially why like going to Gamma for us is an important thing, because there are other people from all over the place that do those kinds of things and know a lot more than we do about how to distribute things. So yeah, that's kind of just coming down the road as soon as we figure that out.
Yeah, so we have just entered the phase of being ready to tell everybody about this. For 2 years, we've been keeping things secret and slowly pushing the ball forward on this. Taking some breaks in between. I have been
putting this into videos for 2 years. Just putting this into my videos and cutting those sections out. Just the models just change. Just a hard change from one to the next.
Right. Seriously, for the last 2 years of eBay Miniature Rescues videos, go back through, and if the final product has checkerboard or symbols,
any kind of freehand looking stuff on it,
any freehand.
If it looks like a decal, it's not a decal.
Yeah. So we had a couple of waves of like alpha and beta versions of our Stampin' plates, and that's what we're calling it. Stampin' with a apostrophe at the end. Stampin' kits, Stampin' plates. It's stamps. Stamps is what it is. But where we eventually landed on this is we got enough patterns and designs for a total of 10 of these steel plates. And so what we're doing is we're putting 2 of the most basic ones into the starter kit, and then the other 8 sets of designs we'll sell separately. But we've got the names of these plates are things like Heraldry 001, Heraldry 002, Squad Marking 001. We got
trying to keep it simple, you know.
We got Elements 01, Industrial 01, Chaotic 01, Feral 01. We got some. We got some good designs.
Just some solid stuff in there,
Yeah. And you did a lot of the designs. My buddy Alex did some of them, and Zambies also did a lot of these designs. The Zambies, the YouTuber and Twitch streamer, the extraordinary Zambies.
Yeah, extraordinarily multi-talented. Like I knew that she drew and stuff, but I didn't know that she had done actual like design and different things for like a while.
We knew she was an artist, to be fair.
Yeah. That's what I mean. But it's the whole other thing when you're like, I need exact dimensional, perfect lines of these things in these programs done in this way. Like, I went to school for that. Like that's what I did in college. So it's nice. It's you don't necessarily know. It's good though.
Right on. So the idea of stamps and this technology, or the nail stamping technology, whatever you want to call it, coming into the miniature world, people have been nibbling at this idea for a little while.
Yeah.
There have been a few Instagram videos about it. A few kind of smaller YouTube channels have tried to use it, have tried to make it work. And there's just enough of a trick to the mechanics of picking up the design. It's like learning a bike. It seems tricky and frustrating until it suddenly clicks and you get it, and now you can do it. And so part of the launch is us just making tutorials to help people get over that initial learning curve. But the reason I bring that up is because when we were worried about, we've got a cool idea here. We want to be the ones to share this with people. We want to bring this to the mini painting world. And we were always getting stressed when someone else would talk about this or put it in a video or something. And then I gotta say, a little part of me, when I saw someone basically not fully knowing how to do it, or using the wrong kind of paint, or using the wrong motion to pick it up, a little sigh of relief, like, oh, phew, okay, they haven't quite figured it out. We will be happy to teach them, but not yet. We'll be happy to teach them eventually, and that time has come. That time has come.
Yeah, it is. I should mention, because you did say the paint thing. It is a specialized kind of paint that works with this technique. It's still paint, right? It still works just like you would think it would work, but it dries a lot faster. Because basically, when you're putting that paint into the design and you're scraping off the excess, the top layer starts to dry, but there's wet layers underneath in the etched design. When you pull it off, it sticks to the silicone, and then all of a sudden you pull that away and the air is drying the other side of the paint. You have to put it onto your model, and then it's basically dry, like to the touch, in just a second after that. So that is partially why it is a specialized type of paint that is used.
Yep, and it's kind of an organic or solvent-based or oil-based paint, whatever you want to say. And the one thing that we are not selling is acetone, or at least not yet. We don't want to be shipping acetone around the country, at least not yet.
I don't even know where to like look into the legalities of shipping flammable materials in the U.S. mail. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I also don't want to be
do it.
pipetting vials of acetone in my basement.
Right. Yeah.
There's worse things in the world, actually. But like that.
There's a lot worse things. If you're piping things into a vial, there's many, many worse things you could be doing, for sure.
Right. So it's an oil-based paint, and essentially you need acetone or nail polish remover to clean up the Stampin' Plate between uses.
Specifically, I do need to say it. Specifically, acetone. You do not use nail polish remover.
Sure.
I have to say that, because that would be bad. That would be a bad thing to do.
Okay.
It will clean it. But nail polish remover is mixed with other things, and it leaves a residue and can clog up the etched designs. Acetone does not. Fair. That's why I got to say it.
Right on. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And we'll also say, don't get the acetone on the silicone stamper. That clouds it up, right?
Yeah, because they're see-through, and that's actually part of what makes this make more sense when you see it, especially, is that when you get the design onto your stamper, it's not like a brick stamp, right? It's not a wooden stamp with rubber on the end. It is a see-through piece of silicone. So when you line it up on your model, you can literally see exactly how you're putting it on. If we didn't make that clear beforehand, that actually makes a big difference in how this works.
Right.
Yeah. So now you actually have control over all of that, your orientation on your model, and it makes a big difference. Because we did try actually doing rubber stamps like a couple of years ago. I went out and I ordered a custom rubber stamp, and I've had this. It does not work with anything. I've tried it with all paints, and it doesn't do the thing. Which is we kind of gave up on for a little while after that. And then came back with these plates when we found those. Yeah. Yep.
So, YouTubers eventually sell something, and in the general sense, YouTubers will sell like a bag of coffee or something, and more specifically, like in our niche, our peers have been selling paintbrushes and paint and miniatures and miniature games and paintbrush holders, and there's a lot of useful hobby specific stuff that we could have chosen to sell, but at least I was always feeling like, they're already doing that. Like you beat
we
me
didn't
to
want
it.
to just be like, oh, here's our thing that's now competing with their thing.
How
Like,
how am I
going to
make a better game than Idols of Torment? You know, how am I gonna how am I gonna make a better game than Rain in Hell? Like I can't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I've had some ideas.
Okay.
Just saying, I've had some ideas.
Well, we can expand from there. The point is, I wanted the first thing that my first level of selling out. I wanted to be for something new. I wanted to be like really bring something new to the process of mini painting, to show to people, to get excited about and teach people about and all that. And when we finally came across this idea, I owe a big thanks to you. Like when I came across this idea of stamping, I was like, oh man, I'm going to make a really good YouTube video about stamping.
Yeah, I do remember that pretty vividly. Yeah.
And you said,
I said, no, we don't do that. We're going to make the thing that we talked about, and we're actually going to, like, you basically figured out the thing that we had already been talking about for months. And it's like, why would you just go and make just a video?
Right.
That seems like, so it's a video, nice video, but no.
Right.
This is bigger than that.
So
this changes things. Like this legitimately, and it's funny because, coming now 2 years down the road, like, it has legitimately changed the way that I look at finishing my models. Like I have this step built in every single time I sit down to paint. I'm like, man, it's going to be so cool when I get to this exact part of this thing. And like, I'm excited to do that. Yeah. And I knew it then too, like that this is different. This is not just make a video and move on. Yeah.
Yep. It really does do some things way better than decals or stencils can do. You love checkerboard, and that's like a perfect example.
Ew.
Yeah. This does checkerboard very well. So I've done a little bit of decals and a little bit of stenciling in my life. Checkerboard is something that stencils can't do because there's the island problem. A stencil, if it's a single piece that you're laying on top of your model, has to be contiguous. It has to be a single piece mask. So, if you're trying to put the image of a skull on something, if you're trying to do that and you want like the orbits of the eyes, you would then have to separately place 2 more tiny little stencils for the orbits of the eyes on your skull. Or in the case of checkerboard, I'm talking about the durability of where the corners of the mask of each little square of that checkerboard meet. If you do that as a stencil, you either have to make it so it's not a true checkerboard and like widen up those corners, or you have to individually put a billion tiny little squares exactly in the right place on your model before you give it the airbrush or whatever. But with a stamp, you can put down designs that are not contiguous, that have those islands in the designs, and you have used a lot of checkerboard patterns in your models over the past couple of years, and they look good. They look real good.
When you actually start looking at it too, and you start to realize like, oh, all the corners of those blocks are touching. Like that couldn't have been a stencil.
Right.
Like it could have been a decal, but that's not what it is. And it doesn't look like a decal. It looks like a hand painted, like well done checkerboard. And it's like, no, I'm not that skilled. Like I've done some checkerboard, like a couple little blocks next to each other, and it looks fine. But no, I can't actually do that.
Yeah, with decals, the problem with checkerboard is that half of the area is then just the clear plastic of the transfer.
Right. Yeah.
And if you're really good at it, you can make that hard to notice.
Yeah.
But if you are not immaculate in your transfer abilities, you're going to be like, oh, there's a little gray square in between the black squares there. Like that's plastic lying on top of the model. And so if you're really good, that's not an issue, and you can figure out a way to blend that decal into the models. But if you're stamping checkerboard, you pick it up off the plate, you slam it down on the model, and that is black paint that you have had. If that's the color checkerboard you're doing, that is paint. Yeah. That is a zillion little squares, exactly the right size and shape and positioning of paint that you added to that part of the model. And it works really well. Really, really well.
Yeah, yeah. And actually on the website there is specifically some stripes and some checkerboard that I do talk about. So you can see that in real time too. Like, I mean, I cut out some of the like me breathing, I guess, in between some words, but like it's real time, you know. And that definitely shows it off a little bit better.
Yeah. So speaking about the time to do these things, I have spent a lot of this week editing a video that'll be going up maybe the day after this podcast goes up, but I've been working on the video.
That's the idea.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I've been editing the video that will eventually be posted about our experience painting that blue Imperial Guard army a couple months back. We're finally getting to tell that story. And one of the reasons we took that project on is because we knew we were going to use a ton of stamps on those guardsmen and on those tanks. And we knew that this tool would really shine under those conditions. So, for example, the regular troopers in that Imperial Guard army, they've got their little shoulder pads, but shoulder pads nonetheless. And we played around with a lot of different options. So we decided just a simple red diamond, blue shoulder pad, stamp on a red diamond, and then stamp over that a very light gray numbering. They're the 108th. I'm calling them the 108 mobile blueberries. That's what I'm calling our army.
That's perfect. I like it. Yeah.
And then on the other shoulder pad, we've got, a series of Roman numerals. And so 1 squad of 10 is Roman numeral 2, 1 squad of 10 is Roman numeral 4, or something like that. And so essentially each trooper model gets 3 stamps: red diamond, white numbering, and then black Roman numerals for the squad. And we got you set up, Casey, for like a time trial time lapse to see how quickly you could stamp a squad of 10. And I think one took you 13 minutes, one was 15, and one was like 18 or something like that.
Something like that. Like we did it multiple times. That's not one guy. That's one session of sitting down to do 10. Yeah. So 1 squad of 10.
30 stamps in essentially 15 minutes. So 30 seconds is the average time that Casey was taking to stamp a design onto a model. And granted, Casey has developed some skills with this, and you're quite proficient.
I feel like I've got it down pretty good. Yeah. But to be fair, it didn't take that long for me to get there. Yeah. Like when I first got it, it was like, oh, okay, I'm going to have to like, get used to this, whatever. And then it was like, oh no, I got this. This is fine. Yeah. Just like all things in miniature painting, like it just takes a minute,
Yep. And man, if you think about, okay, how long does it take you to apply a decal? Is it more or less than 30 seconds?
Well, first you start with the microsole, right? You got to let it soak for 30 seconds.
Let it soak. Pick it up with the tweezers.
Tweezers, get it on there. Right? Put it on there. Adjust it. Sponge out the stuff, and then
you got your wet brush to move it around a little bit. Let it dry a little bit. It wrinkles up. Then you get the microsole on.
Yeah, exactly. It takes a minute, like a good minute. Yeah.
But anyway, we were hoping that army would be a good example case of what you can do with these stamps, and it was. It really, really was. So.
Yeah. No, it's in terms of like the armies that I've ever worked on, like full armies and painted and done. This is by far one of my favorite ones. Partially because we ended up both really liking the models, which I think is a weird thing we didn't think was going to happen. But the colors plus all of the basically like the freehand designs on top of that just make it look so cohesive and cool. Like it's how you would want your army to be when you look at it. It's like, oh, they've all got shoulder pads. They've all got that little extra thing. That one's got this like, hazard stripes going down over here. And it's like, it's all this stuff that was just added on kind of near the end, and it brought it all together in a way that it's like we were expecting it, right? But not exactly, I guess, like it became reality.
Yeah.
When we did that army, and it was like, oh wow, no, this is actually even better than I thought originally.
Yeah, we had a great time with that. So, the troopers we used the stamps to really establish their uniforms of here's the marking of the regiment and the squad that they're in or whatever. And then when it got time to do the tanks, we actually used the stamps to make the tanks all a little bit different and to customize the tanks a little bit. So we have, all these like heraldry options of rearing lion and rampant tiger, dragon, whatever. Heraldry words, heraldry people.
Yeah.
You know what's going on.
The double eagle.
Yeah, I think we do have a double eagle. Yeah,
I think we do.
Yeah. We do have a crab. But yeah, we were
yes, we definitely have that.
Yeah. We were like, okay, this tank is going to be the eagle tank, and this one's going to have the heraldry of the rampant dragon, and then this one, we're going to give this one kill count, so we're going to put like skulls on the turret for how many enemies that they've defeated in combat, stuff like that. And we actually have probably the least useful design that we have on all of these plates is the tally marks. But we do have, because those are reasonable to do yourself with a paintbrush, little tally mark,
for
hash
sure.
marks. Yep.
Yeah.
But we stamped on some tally marks. So like, this tank with the crab iconography has gotten a lot of victories in combat. They've got a big old kill count on that crab tank. And then you were going around putting high voltage caution signs all around the tanks.
Yeah,
and
you got like different doors for things. Like there's an electrical panel in the back. Let's put an electrical, high voltage thing in the back of that. And there's the big barrels on the back of the what are they? What are the tanks called?
Rogel
ones
tanks.
With the holes. Yeah, the big hole in the bottom.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Rogel Dorn tanks. They have these big like the barrels on the back, so we put these like poison symbols on there. The little triangle with the skull and crossbones in there.
Yep.
So we were able to put that stuff on there, and it just adds that little bit of extra detail on there. Like I don't know, it's so good.
Yep. And so we had done a pretty clean job of doing the paint job, but then when you put in just a really good symbol or icon or heraldry or whatever, just a really clean bit of freehand that makes it just looks so crisp and intentional, and it kind of lends credibility to the rest of the paint scheme. Like it makes it seem like everything on the paint scheme is supposed to be there and is that level of intentional and quality. And it's an optical illusion that works in our favor.
I've actually talked about that like theory, I guess, for different army projects that I've done. That usually ends up coming up is this idea that if you take kind of a focal point and you do it even harder than the rest of everything else, then that's what people are looking at. So you can spread out this really cool stuff across an entire army that you just kind of like, well, I base coated, and they look good. It's not like I'm not trying to make them look good, but having all of those things to the next level of quality and spectacle, I guess, definitely makes you look at it differently. You're not looking at the small things, like there were a lot of the eyes on these guys that we didn't paint. It's like, it's fine. Nobody's going to look at that. And all the people who have seen it have not once mentioned that, it's not like it came up.
Right.
Yeah, so you're taking focus off some of those things. You're making it look like you've done a lot more work than you actually have.
For real. Yeah, just having those barrels on the back of the tanks are a perfect example. They're modeled to just have some barrels strapped to the back of these tanks. And, I painted them kind of a desaturated green to be like, all right, they're toxic barrels of some kind. But when you come in there with that stamp, skull and crossbones poison symbol, it just looks right. And it gets the scale of everything. And again, it just makes it seem like it's supposed to be there. And we were really, really pleased with how a lot of that army came out. And, we both especially like those poison barrels, though. Those are great.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah, so on one of our plates of symbols here, this is Industrial 001, and we've got caution stripes, and we've got like a diamond grid pattern, and we've got futuristic digital camo kind of stuff, and we've got some futuristic numbering, and we've got a bunch of we got the poison sign and caution and high voltage, all that good stuff, and some barcodes and stuff, and we also have a couple of QR codes on this one. For the fun of it, we thought we would have some of these plates made up with a teeny tiny little QR code. And part of the purpose of that was just to see if it would work. To see how detailed we could get, what kind of fidelity we could get off of this pad printing, stamping plate stuff. And the answer is pretty good. I think we're both including the footage of this QR code in action in the videos that we're editing up.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to. Partially because, I do know that I obviously tested it. It works. But that when we were getting together with the other groups of guys that we were doing this big project with, one of them tested it through the call that we were having when we were sharing the footage, and it worked for him too. And it's like, okay, if you can get that through like a Discord call with, a shared screen kind of thing, okay. It was kind of working on my phone. I got a Samsung. It was definitely working on your iPhone. I gotta wonder about that. Yeah. And I didn't ask him if he's got an iPhone either. He must have. I don't know if it's a thing, like it's some weird thing like that. Yeah.
But a skull comes through, a heart comes through. You see what's going on there. The diamond comes through. When you can stamp a QR code that's like a centimeter by a centimeter, and it actually registers,
it's pretty small.
Yeah. we were quite happy with that, and so we came up with a ton of designs. Like I said, you and my buddy Alex and Zambies were all big on coming up with the designs that we spread across these 10 plates. But something that we're excited to see is when we put these out into the world, what are going to be the most popular designs? What are we going to start to see on Instagram and stuff and be like, that's one of ours. But also, we are hopeful that Goblin Hobbies will go forward into the future, continue to expand, and one of the things that we're going to be expanding is more stampin' plates. So as people figure out how to use these, we're going to hopefully be getting ideas and requests and all that kind of stuff. And we will use that to figure out what future waves of these stamps look like.
Yeah. Yeah, because we did the 10 plates, to start with, and we tried to cover a pretty big range of things that we thought would be useful, things that we've both personally wanted to put on models, and we're just like, well, either I don't want to do a decal or they don't make that, and then obviously some more stuff that you would assume would be in something like basic shapes. You got circles and diamonds, and we've got playing card sets and that kind of thing. So as much as we could possibly pack in, and we did cut stuff off of these.
Oh yeah, we've got a folder. We've got a folder of extras.
Yeah. But not knowing what people are actually going to want, I think is definitely like we're excited to see what that's going to look like, because we want to do as much as we can to push this and make it fun for people, and then also give people what they want in terms of designs. Like, we don't know what people necessarily want. We're not like the end all on anything like that. So, you know, that's going to be exciting.
This is supposed to be like the start of people's creativity. Again, a lot of very general symbols, and then, you know, some specific symbols that we have an idea of how people might want to use. Some just like cool looking symbols that, you know, just wild, weird shapes that if someone wants to use as a custom chapter marking or something like that, yeah, go for it. And we've thought of a bunch of creative ways to use these, but I'm really excited to see what we didn't think of, and like combinations of using these on minis and places we never even considered, and that's going to be real cool. Speaking of expanding the selection eventually, we are starting with 10 plates and only 4 colors of Stampin' Color. And, you know, if you look at a sheet of decals, there's not that many colors represented for the most part. Normally, if you're putting a symbol on something, the most common colors by far are black, white, and red. And so in our 4 colors, we have black, white, and red. And then the 4th one is a very light gray. So essentially, and this comes through when we're painting regularly also, I almost never use white. White is a very rare color for me to use. Maybe a, you know, zenithal squirt of white when I'm priming something, which even then kind of becomes gray when it's sitting on top of black. Or, you know, when I see a paint set that has white, I'm like, you should have traded that out for some bone. Give me a nice bright gray, or give me an off-white. Like if you're painting the teeth on a little goblin, you got to be using an off-white. That goblin doesn't have shiny, pearly white teeth. That's gonna look. It's gonna look nutty. That ain't gonna look right at all.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, if you are intending to put a white symbol or white lettering on something, use the light gray. But and that just looks right. You stamp something with light gray, and it registers to your eyes as white, but a white that doesn't hurt you.
Brent's got his phone out. You didn't turn your phone on silent, you monster.
Well, when I do that, then every once in a while I miss an actually important call. But it's mostly just not telemarketers. Telemarketers don't exist anymore. It's just straight up Medicare scammers.
Yeah, what even?
Yeah.
Just scammers. It's all scams, for sure.
All scams. Scams all the way down. Not this, though. Goblin Hobbies, not a scam.
This is much different.
Yeah, much different. Entirely different. Yeah.
Now we've said it. It's you know, somebody says they're not a scam. Like, there's a rule about that, I think, you know. Yeah.
So anyway, the reason we're selling pure white as one of the first Stampin' Colors is because it's fun to put colors over the white. Yeah, what do you got on camera there, Casey?
I got this the nugget that's in the example footage that's on the website.
Yeah.
Everything stamped with pure white and then tinted using inks or contrast paints. Or like I think I actually used an Army Painter speed paint on these. So like you get the idea. Like they tint white, that's what they do. And this isn't any exception. It works incredibly well. And like immediately, like I put the checker pattern on this axe, did some cool stuff to the edges of it, made it look all banged up, and then I came in with some yellow and orange, and now it looks cool.
Did you have any trouble with the Stampin' Color reactivating?
No.
The answer is no. The answer is no.
The nice thing is because it's not a water-based paint. It's not going to reactivate. It literally can't. Yeah.
I
think if you come in like real quick, like as soon as you put it down, if you tried to paint over it, it's like a smidge hydrophobic.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but in a couple more seconds after that, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like it's not. Yeah, it dries very fast.
Yep. Well, anyway, we'll also be interested to see what colors people want in the upcoming.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we're not trying to launch a paint set here. We're not trying to launch 72 different colors or anything like that. But we want
thought
people
about
to
it,
have,
but that's about it.
and then we talk ourselves out real quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it may be that, you know, blue and yellow and a couple of other very obvious choices come to mind, and then as people are experimenting, they may be like, okay, we really need this color. There's specific use for this color, and our ears are open. But we figured black, white, red, and off-white, really important to get started with, and then we'll go from there. And like I said, this is related to the nail stamping industry. So if there's a color that you really want, you can go and find special stamping polish, is what it's called over there. And
like regular polishes do technically work, but they're not as densely pigmented. They're not quite as thick, so they don't work as well. And I have tried every other kind of paint that you can think of. Like heavy body acrylics kind of work, but not really. It's definitely designed, like I said before, like with a very specific formula of paint, so that stamping polishes are thick enough and dry fast enough that work really well. So,
And we've been pushing at the edges of how to make this work specifically for miniature painting. And another thing I want to mention is that, these big old stampers work great if you can access that part of the Mini. So, if there's a shield held right out in the open, very easy to get this stamper to cover the shield. The silicone has a lot of give to it, and so it'll work on curved surfaces and get on in there, but you kind of need to have a straight line of sight to be able to come in with your stamper. So if that, if the sculpt of the model has a sword in the way or something like that, it's going to be more challenging. And so you can either deal with that with sub-assemblies and just a little bit of planning ahead, or I also found that in addition to these big stampers, silicone tape, which you can get from the hardware store, is an alternative. It's basically a strip of clear silicone tape that works in place of these big old stampers, and that is easier to get into tighter spaces. And as people are figuring out how to use these stamps on miniatures, I think there's going to be a lot of little breakthroughs like that of figuring out how to just get the most out of this stamping technology for the purpose of miniatures. But we figured out a lot of it, and we're excited to turn it loose on the world and see what other people come up with.
Yeah. Actually, one of the first things we switched from was a bigger stamper. And we ended up, what's in the actual starter kit that we're making, it's a double-ended small stamper. So each end, they're both see-through. They're slightly different sizes. So you've got kind of a medium one that I think is going to be good for most everything, and then a pretty small end. So if you do have to get in somewhere tight, generally I haven't had too many issues getting into different places. Like obviously, even with decals, you're going to run into that, and it's just kind of a pain. And that's why, we did figure out the silicone tape option, which is kind of cool because it's the same exact stuff. It's silicone, and you just have this like little strip that you can kind of slide in between stuff and place your design down. It's cool. But we did definitely think about it in terms of what comes in the starter kit. It's not like a gigantic, stamper that's going down.
Right. I don't know if I ever fully told you about my shopping trip finding that silicone tape, but I
don't think you did. Yeah.
I went online and I bought a bunch of different squishy tapes. Basically, I went to I went to Rite Aid and bought a bunch of like foot fungus pads, like Scholl's pads and stuff like blister treatments.
Oh, that's a good idea. I didn't think of that. That's cool.
I was like, maybe this one, maybe this, because I was like, I really got to get this figured out. You need, good to have options for, if the model's holding a sword in front of the shield, like, come on, Goblin, move that sword out of the way. Or you figure out a different transfer method that, has a lower profile and can get in there. So
it makes a lot of sense that silicone, as with the silicone stamper, would also work like the exact same way.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. So you can just take a little strip of silicone tape, and I found that just kind of pressing it down with my thumb onto the steel stamping plate does a pretty good job of transferring the design. Pick that up, move it on over to the model. The easiest is these specially designed silicone stampers, but there are workarounds. And also, I just wanted you to know that I have a big old drawer of bunion treatments in my bathroom if you ever need anything.
I might, it's a good thing I didn't come over and see him and just be like, oh, okay. Not going to bring that up.
Well, I had on my desk, I had 15 different products, and I found one. I was like, oh man, this one really works. Like this just silicone tape made for a very specific type of plumbing. The first one I found that worked was made for burying copper pipes in your backyard or something. It's like, join your copper pipes, solder them together. Now give it a couple wraps with this silicone tape, and now you can bury it in your backyard. Or you can stamp your goblins. I don't know. Whatever's more important,
But
my table was just filled with feet treatments for.
That's great. So good. The point is, we've been working hard for the last couple of years, to make it so that this works how we wanted it to work.
Yeah. And the intent is that this is another tool in the toolbox. There will still be times when a decal or a stencil is the right thing, or pulling out your paintbrush is the right thing. But I think there's going to be a lot of times, I'm really excited, I think there's going to be a lot of times when a stamp is just the right tool for the job. And the future isn't all bad, Casey. There's some things to look forward to yet. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I still use stencils when they're appropriate, when it's something bigger, or I'm trying to do something fast with the airbrush, whatever it is. And it's funny because when I am getting to that point on a model and I'm like, all right, what am I going to do here? I'm going to put this design, I'm going to do this. I definitely am trying to find a way around not having to use stencils. And that's me personally. I think because I've had so much exposure to this and I've practiced it now, and I'm just like, I would much rather do, even if it was huge, I will do that 3 or 4 times and match that up before wanting to get out some some kind of a stencil or anything.
Right.
But I don't know, we're gonna see how far we can take that too. I think that'll be an interesting thing to test out, because they make we can make bigger stampers.
We sure can. Yep.
It's like a 6-inch long stamp. I'm just thinking we could just go for it. I don't know. Now I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah.
I'm still excited about it,
Yeah. Well, don't put all your ideas out there, or else all of a sudden Green Stuff World is going to be selling a 6-inch stamper.
It's a good point, actually.
But no,
I'm assuming that's going to happen, but
Yeah, we've been keeping this quiet as best we can because we thought it was a really good idea, and we wanted to be the ones to introduce it to people. But yeah, I am hopeful. I'm hopeful that it's popular enough that other people do start making their own. I hope they don't forget about Goblin Hobbies. Good, yeah. More options is always good. Competition is a good thing, but I just hope people continue to like Goblin Hobbies. Hope we. Yeah. Goblin Hobbies works hard for you. We're not.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not Crab Time Hobbies. Those those guys
Could
not
have
to be
been.
trusted.
Yeah. That'll be our alter ego. That's what that is. Crab Time Hobbies.
Yeah. So, it's really excited to finally be able to share this on Paint Brave the podcast. We will not have all of our future episodes solely for focused on Goblin Hobbies releases, but we
Not
will
solely, but
we feel like we've broken the seal and we're able to talk about it if there's something worth saying. And the other thing to look for is we are right on the cusp of releasing those videos for that batch painting Army YouTube challenge collaboration with the Kieran Show and with Poor Hammer. That may be the day after you listen to this podcast, but it's worthless to predict these things. Who's to say? But it's
who's to say?
Soon.
Yeah.
And
so it's amazing that we've gotten all the episodes of Paint Bravely out on at least a consistent day for 4.5 years or whatever. So who's to say?
It's all building to this. Yeah. But so that's going to be one of the first times that you can really see these in action. You can go right now to goblinhobbies.com for a few quick little action shots. And to sign up for the email address, you get yourself some free STLs of Nugget and Elma in the future and in the fantasy past.
That's correct. Yeah, supported and not supported too, for your preference. Mm-hmm.
But when we got challenged to that painting competition, we're always like, okay, we're decent painters. We know some tricks for making nice looking armies, but we also knew that we had this secret weapon. And it's not entirely fair. Like we knew that this was going to give us a little bit of leg up, and we knew that this was going to be a core pillar of our paint plan, and was going to give them something a little extra zazz to the army. And
and we've seen their armies, and they look really good.
They look good,
like they do.
Yeah. They're no 108th mobile
better.
blueberries. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, like honestly, if they had this, maybe we should have just given them the tech early on. I don't know.
Well, we kind of told them that we're working on something. Little. It's not stencils, it's not decals, but It's kind of our first time meeting these guys. We didn't know if they could be trusted. We don't know if anyone can be trusted.
That's fair. Yeah. But I think that if they had this, then I do think that their armies would have been even more on top of what they actually achieved. Yeah.
So the other two armies were Chaos Space Marines, and specifically they did, is it Iron Hands, which is the one, or Steel Legion? Steel Legion, right?
No, that's Imperial Guard. No, it's just Chaos Space Marines.
Okay, it's the Chaos Space Marines that have the caution stripes. They have the yellow and black caution stripes. Those Chaos Space Marines, which is one of the 9 known ones. Whatever, doesn't matter.
I don't know.
Iron
I know
Hands,
what you mean.
Yeah, whatever. Okay.
I feel like Iron Hands is a Space Marine one that uses that, but I don't think it's it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
They did Chaos Space Marines with caution stripes, and the point is, there are lots of good ways to do caution stripes. And for big caution stripes, probably tape is still the best answer.
I mean, that's what it's made for. Yeah.
But for caution stripes on chain swords, we've got a really good way of doing that. And,
Oh, that looks really good.
Really good. Really good.
Yeah.
And the other army in the collaboration was Leagues of Votan, the Space Dwarfs. And they had 18 hover bikes in that army.
A lot, yeah. A lot of bikes.
They would have put so many stamps on those hover bikes.
Yes.
That would have been amazing. And so, we got offered this collaboration. We were given a little bit of a choice of like, do you want the Imperial Guard or the Votan or the Chaos Space Marines? And both of us wanted to do Guard, but we were also like, we can make any of those look amazing with these stamps.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we had immediately when we were given the options for the armies, I knew that we had ideas in mind. But doing a regimented army, right? An Imperial Guard army with the numbers on the shoulder pads just feels so right,
using the stamps to give them that uniformity. But then again, on the tanks, we used the stamps to make them all a little bit different, which was also cool.
Yeah. There's some cool stuff on the tanks in particular that kind of like give each tank its own little identity. It's got this like little, on one of them I have this like little half shield and like a lion roaring, and it's I don't know, it just brings this like regal thing to the Rogel Dorn, and it's like, oh, that's different, that's cool.
So we were using our like alpha test version of the plates for that army, and so there have been a few design changes since then, and sadly, something that we have left off of the first wave that we're bringing to market is the names. We were thinking about the possibility of being able to stamp names or like formulaic names onto a base rim or something like that, like Titus of Earth, or
like a bunch of words in line that were angled in such a way that you could put it on like base rims or on shoulder pads where it was just slightly curved.
Yep. And we ended up leaving those off, and we'll save them for another time. But on a few of those tanks, we did put those words, and so the crab tank is named Beatus. And we need to look back in our folders and figure that out. We had these formulas of like Beatus Immortalis, or just stupid like words like that. Like
good words and names put together. Manicus. We had
Manicus was the one we both enjoyed a lot.
So good.
Manicus, Hereticus, all that stupid stuff.
Like you could put a bunch of stuff together and it would make all these ridiculous like names, like a stupid name generator kind of thing. It's like, here's your like future soldier name generator.
We ended up deciding to use the space on that plate for something else, and we were also trying to figure out what scale we wanted those things at. But anyway, we did get a chance to use a few of them on those tanks, and we got a crab inlaid in a diamond, and then we stamped like a banner underneath the crab, like kind of. I think we had laurels. We had laurels surrounding the crab. Then we had a little banner under the crab, and on the banner we stamped the name Beatus. Like, that's Beatus the crab.
It's Beatus the crab.
But yeah, like a lot of the designs are meant to be used on top of each other or surrounding each other. So like we have those laurels. Some of the simple designs are like you put a circle down and then you put the heraldry inscribed in the circle, or you put the little script thing underneath something, and then you can write your own words in there, and it is meant to have sweet combos and to have an interplay between them. And I think people will figure out some combos that we hadn't even thought of. And then we'll get some ideas for new elements that can be used to like expand those combinations. So, Anyway, we're excited about Goblin Hobbies.
I think it's safe to say. I'm definitely excited. I'm looking forward to seeing what people do with this, just because there's so much. There's so much variety in the plates that we've already made that, like, I'm sure we didn't think of 99% of the stuff that people are going to be doing with this. So I'm extremely excited.
And we mentioned this before, but we are going to be together at Adepticon this year, Adepticon 2025. We are running a table there near the Trenchworks booth, in the Trenchworks booth, sharing with the Trenchworks booth.
Part of, like the first half of that booth, but it's like a long booth. So it's like a normal booth, but there isn't like a wall in between it. So like Victoria Miniatures, Trenchworks.
Yep, that's right. Victoria's going to be there this year. Victoria, Dave from Trenchworks.
And then
I think at least one more of the Trenchworks people. Resnova is going to be sharing a wall with us, I think.
It's a wall. Okay. Yeah.
But that's going to be a lot of fun. And this is going to be our first time at Adepticon with a place to sit. Instead of for the last several years, we've been mobile and just walking around and going with the flow, ending up in random places, talking to random people in the best way possible. This year, we're going to have a station. And so if you please come hang out with us, we will.
Yeah, we're going to do demos.
Yeah, at the very least, we will have demos. There's a small possibility that we'll have some of these to sell there. No promises. It's right on the line. It depends. Right on the line.
Like our actual order for our product is currently in shipping, so we don't 100% know, when it'll be here. Like it just is what it is. It's how it works.
Yeah.
But we definitely will have some models with us, physical models.
Yep.
So we can show you how to stamp some cool stuff and hang out,
Yeah, come by the Goblin Hobbies booth at Adepticon, hang out with Brent and Casey, meet Elma and Nugget, and we'll show you how to use the stamping kits and stamping plates to do some stamping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds right. Oh my gosh. There's so much I feel like there's still so much to talk about. But that might be it for now. I don't know.
I think that's a good start. No, I think we gave people some stuff to chew on. They can go check out goblinhobbies.com. Let us know if there's anything over at crabtimehobbies.com. The path's not taken. I try to live life without regret, but sometimes, man,
it's stupid because like I've thought about it and I'm like, we coulda just feet first, just right into that hole. I don't regret it, but
so I think Goblin Hobbies is a fantastic name. I think there are a lot of other companies in this niche that use the word goblin in their name, which makes sense because everybody loves goblins. There are even more goblin companies than there are kobold companies, honestly.
That's true.
Spoilers for a future episode, maybe.
Kobold companies.
It's getting to be that time of year, man.
It is that time of year.
Yeah.
It really is that time of year. Oh, man.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Well, thank you again for joining us on another episode of Paint Bravely. If you enjoyed this podcast, please help us out by leaving us a review on iTunes, subscribing to the YouTube channel, and sharing this message with your hobby friends. And as always, we appreciate each and every one of you for listening, and we will talk to you next time.
Talk to you next time.